flag down, away we go, and it is a good start from both poleman and on the middle of the front row. So Matthew Holm is looking to try and take that lead with the AC Cobra, and I think he's going to get into Madrid first. Yes, he does, but it's a good start from Joe Macari, number 8, with that Ferrari, the black Ferrari, that had certainly got a good start. Now dropping back to 4th, but we've got a battle up front, no doubt about it. Richard Kent is coming up on the inside, and I think he's going to, no, not quite. I thought he was going to snatch the lead, and now Richard's got to watch out because James Cottingham is still, this was the top 3 on the grid, and they're still absolutely together, but Richard Kent is just squeezing in front now. We have an E-type in front of the Cobra, and the Cobra is still under pressure from another E-type with James Cottingham.
Right, these 3 have been in that breakaway. Cottingham getting the back of the E-type, sliding a little bit wide, coming through the exit of St Mary's, tries to get alongside to go the long way around the Cobra, but decides not to. They're going to try and make the undercut as they come to the second apex, but not sufficiently close. Again, Cottingham sliding. I mean, really giving it large, coming out of the exit of Lavin, now onto 11 straight. Cobra's got a little bit of extra straight line performance, but Cottingham, so experienced now with his international motor racing, is very keen to get ahead of the Cobra. He needs to clear the Cobra, trying to do so down the inside into Woodcut. Can he get it done? He's going to be side by side, but no, no, the Cobra's just got that little bit of extra drive off Woodcut. Cottingham's got to fall back in line.
Yeah, Matthew Holm held it. I thought he might lose it then, but actually Matthew with the Cobra did manage to hold on to it. Remember, he'll be handing over to Andrew Jordan later on in this race, but it is being led by Richard Kent, who will hand over to Chris Ward, who is also massively rapid as well. So this is going to be a really fascinating race. The E-type, amazing how sideways, particularly the 66, James Cottingham's car there, is going, but he's managing to hold it. This was an E-type that raced in the California period, and it's been successful in recent historic events, there's no doubt about it, and it's looking competitive again, but can he find a way through? Oh,
spins or something's gone wrong on the exit.
Say 2 Austin Healey's and an E-type involved in an incident there, and well, let's hope that they can get that sorted out. And
I think that'll be a safety car ban,
yes,
at least.
I'm sure
maybe
it will be.
It could even be a red flag.
It's being confirmed safety car at the moment already, so there's no surprise there, and they will deal with this as quickly as possible, but this is obviously going to cause a delay, and they will now, they obviously haven't seen the message. Look, they're still battling for 2nd place, yet we are on the safety car. So are they not getting flag signals?
Well, I don't know what signals there might be around the racetrack, but certainly there's a wave, double yellow light, safety car sign has been shown. It's now being declared. And look at the Cobra almost tripping over itself as the Jaguar of Cottingham got on the brakes big time to slow down, because he was required. He may be required actually to give that position back, because the safety car indication was put out to the drivers before Cottingham made that overtake on the Cobra.
Yeah, but maybe the flags weren't in front of them at that point, but he obviously hadn't realised until he came through the chicane, because he came out the chicane a bit too quickly, but thankfully they didn't actually make contact, and we've got some other cars out to make sure everything's okay. So we're looking at the start. Once again, we are hearing there is a red flag. So, John, it is going to stop everybody. But just to take another look at the start here, this was with Tom Hartley.
Yes, so Tom Hartley on the right of the circuit going down into Madrid. Good start from Tom Hartley Jr., and he's running down into 3rd gear into the first part of Madrid, hugging the sort of the inside line, but of course on the outside you've got a 250 GT Berlinetta. It's a slightly easier exit if you go around the outside. You've got to pinch the car, as the Cobra did, the number 88 Cobra with Tom Hartley Jr. behind the wheel.
It was a great battle up front, there's no doubt. Matthew Holm just making that start from pole position, but he was then under pressure from both of the Jaguar E-types that had lined up alongside on the front row of the grid, and of course that battle has been continuing since then. It was all pretty clean at that stage through that corner, thankfully on the opening lap, with no major incidents, but the battle was going on. You can see the control, not just with the Cobra, but the E-types as well, were slipping and sliding around.
Well, there's a lot of determination between these lead 3 cars in this opening lap. So here we are now under safety car to bring the cars back onto the grid where they will stop, because we've got a red flag. There were 3 cars involved in that incident, all around the entry into Ford Water before they would get into the entry into St Mary's. So those cars will need to be cleared. One of them did roll over. One of the, I think it's a red Aston Martin. I couldn't quite catch the number of the car.
Ready for the race to get underway. The flag is coming up. we're racing once again, a second attempt, and it's a slow start from the Cobra this time. So it is a very good start for both of the E-types, disappearing up, and James Cottingham making a good getaway there. But it's Richard Kent who has got an excellent start. Oh, we've got another E-type running wide, but managing to get back on once more. So Richard Kent doing a great job, trying to hold off James Cottingham. James Cottingham coming back at him right away.
Yes, I'd like to have a look at that start, because I think the AC Cobra moved momentarily before the flag fell. He then checked up.
Right.
And that was maybe why he had that poor getaway. So that's something that will be looked at, no doubt, by the stewards.
Yeah, so that was Matt Holm, who will be handing over to Andrew Jordan, and he was doing well in the first part, but it has gone a bit wrong, and he's dropped down to, I think, to 5th position now. You can just see it in the background. Yeah, he's running in 5th place. That car that was originally on pole, that started on the middle of the front row this second attempt, and it just didn't come together particularly well. It's Gregor Fiskin, who's just ahead in another Cobra, who will be handing over to Dario Franchitti. So that'll be interesting. That was a good start. They had already made some progress from the first start to the second, but look at the E-type battle we've got up front.
Yes, this much what we saw at the original start without the Cobra that was on pole position. But I mean, again, Cottingham doing everything he possibly can to squeeze his E-type up alongside and ahead of our race leader as it comes through the chicane for the restart. And now the AC Cobra, the car that was on pole position, is looking to try and regain, is going to come up alongside the Cobra that's running in 4th place, goes one way, then goes the other way, dives down the inside, takes that position away with relative ease. That was Gregor Fiskin being overtaken by the yes.
Yeah, Matt Holm, yeah. So we shall see whether Matt's going to be able to make up some of that lost ground. He will be a bit cross with himself, but as you say, did he start to move before he should have done so? Will he get a penalty? But we'll have another look at that in a while. In the meantime, we've got this great battle up between the two E-types up front, Richard Kent and James Cottingham, and they will be handing over to Chris Ward and Ollie Bryant, who are two star drivers here.
I wouldn't want to divide which of the two. Now Cottingham's looking to dive down the inside into Lavant. He gets the nose of his Jaguar,
yes.
slows down Kent in his car, and that's a bit of a race tactic. Once you've done a lot of international racing, you learn a few little tricks of the trade. So Cottingham was able to make the move down the inside into Lavant, then slowed down the Jaguar he was passing to force it to back out, so as then the exit for Cottingham was going to be unchallenged.
That was clever. That was a clever move, as you say, John. Let's have a look at what the battle for 3rd place now. This is all looking pretty tight as well. John Young in the number 4 E-type, the black one, that he was sharing with Gordon Shedden later on once we get into the pit stops. That is now coming under pressure, of course, from the Cobra of Matt Holm, and we shall see whether Matt Holm can get the run coming across the line. The Cobra's quick in a straight line. Now, can he go to the inside into Madgwick? Double apex right-hander. You need to get fully alongside. He's done it. He's done it.
Yeah, he had the momentum, and I think, in fact, John Young wasn't going to go to war over a challenge from a car that was quicker and was on a mission. It was going down the inside, whatever. So concede the position.
Oh,
that's the same car that went on.
Sorry, yes.
Hold on, Ben.
I wasn't going to panic.
Calm.
It's always when you're looking at a car in the background, think, what's that? But it is the car that...
That's DD300.
Yeah, the car that sadly had the fire that they put out of the way. I wasn't quite sure where they put it, but it is out of the way.
Well, it was there on the opening lap as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we are, looking at the battles going on between the E-types up front, although the gap has opened up just a little bit more now.
Yeah, but just keep an eye on Matt Holm. He was really right out to the very edge on the exit of St Mary's, pushing absolutely to try and regain all that lost ground from that, I think, slightly optimistic start. He then checked up, and then that cost him the positions, but well, certainly starting second on the grid, and dropped back currently up to 4th place, having gotten past Gregor Fiskin and Spears.
This is fun. This is a Ferrari battle now. So we've got E-types battling up front, and then we've got these beautiful Ferraris, the 250 GT SWBs. They're fighting each other at this stage. This is inside the top 10. They're running for 7th place at the moment.
In fact, if you go back to 1960 and 61, when Sir Stirling Moss was driving Rob Walker's 250 GT Berlinetta, you had a battle between Maranello, Berlinetta, Scuderia Fittipaldi, and here we've got 2 Ferraris. You could almost time warp back to 1960 or 61.
Yeah, so you got Vincent Gay's going to be handing over to Joe Twyman later on in this race, and you got Alexander Vanderloff, who will be handing over to Jelmer Berman but they're having a really good run at this stage, and see what they can do. Up front, fastest lap by the leader at this stage as well, James Cottingham, but the gap is still only 0.6 of a second, 6 to 7 of a second between the top two. There's some other battles going on further back, of course, and some of the Austin Healey's and Aston Martins we can see in the mix here as well. One of the other Ferraris, the number 8 machine, that's Joe Macari, who will be handing that one over to Tom Kristensen. Oh, he's fighting off another of the E-types. This is down in 12th place at this stage. Oh, and he's definitely going to lose a place or two. Yeah, the E-type nipping past there, and that's Nick Maton, who will be handing over to Scott Dixon later on.
Yeah, so a little bit of caution coming into St Mary's from the Ferrari, and the Jaguar jumped on that, didn't have to be invited to be given a chance twice. The Austin Healey, which shouldn't really have the performance of a 250 GT Berlinetta. Damage, you can see that was mentioned. That car was damaged in that opening lap, part one of this race, and there is the damage. I wouldn't like to think what the repair bill, and if this is an alloy-bodied GT 250 GT Berlinetta, well, that'll have to go somewhere who specialises in aluminium panel beating.
Absolutely. Keeping an eye on Jack Rawls as well, who did a great job earlier on today in a different race. In the number 34, Austin Healey, he's actually sort of just got ahead to that little group, and Jack will be seeing if he can gain just a little bit more time. There's quite a queue of cars right here, but we have this one, number 8 now, dropping down, has dropped down. Oh, it's coming in.
The Ferrari's coming in, that's Macari coming in. So another Jaguar running wide, coming out of Woodcut. Does he clip the marker? He does get the corner marker board, but has it done it? No, it's still standing, but not in a very fit state of health.
John Minshaw that was, but again, managed to sort it out, thankfully. And now we've got a bit of, is that liquid coming out? Is that oil, or is it?
No, that looks like fuel.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't somebody second guessing an armchair quarterback, but there is something coming from the rear of that car. You can see a spray of liquid of some sort, and one would think, look at it, it's pouring out of that's the breather for the fuel tank, and you don't need the exhaust gases coming out to ignite that. So what has gone on for John? That is a massive fuel leak, and everybody following behind, running over that, they'll be, well, where do we go? Because they'll lose control.
Absolutely. And whether I think he's looking in his mirror, I think he may have picked up, and whether he's going to come into the pits, I hope he does. Yes, he is coming into the pits, because the amount of fuel that, as you say, is falling out, and it is going to affect others. But that is, I do feel
that car will come to a standstill. The fuel will still flow out. I just hope there's people around with fire extinguishers. We don't need a pit lane fire. We know what happened back in 1959. There are the marshals ready. So whatever, I mean, goodness, how can you have air pouring? Well, maybe that's not fuel. Surely, I mean, I thought it might be
fuel, I think, but
I mean, that looks like it's more like a breather for the engine.
It does, absolutely. So it's fascinating, but it's clearly a problem, and I'm sure it was laying down some fuel out on the track, but that means now that, in fact, they're similar. This E-type's the same. Look, we've got more coming in. This is bizarre. So we've lost James Cottingham's car into the pits, and now you're watching Richard Kent leading this, but there's more coming from the back of his car.
I mean, again, as soon as he lifts off and puts on the brakes, then there's all this fluid coming out, and I mean, this is a question for The Chase, the TV program.
Absolutely, it is, because but maybe this is a part of what can happen with the E-types if things don't quite go right. But are they going to be able to continue or not? I really don't know.
Well, if whatever is coming out of the back of this E-type stops, there's going to be something mechanical will go wrong, I suspect, with the car. But to see two cars within the space of a lap each pouring out fluid, we thought initially it might have been fuel. I think probably now it's a pressurized system, mostly within the water system, but it's very unusual to have a water breather pipe at the rear of a car, but maybe.
Getting a black and red flag, I could see that, so I think he's being told you've got to come in. So I think we will see that car coming into the pits, and that really is disappointing, and it means that we're losing some of the, presumably some of the star drivers that we're going to have a great battle for the win here, because Ollie Bryant was due to take over the other one, and this one Chris Ward was due to take over. So yeah, I think that car's going to be in at the end of this lap. So who is going next? Well, actually it is the Cobra that was doing well earlier on. Yeah.
So Strange is on board with Tom Hartley Jr. He's going to be handing over to Jimmie Johnson. So we've got 26 minutes of this race remaining, and we're going to be getting fairly close. And is that rain on the windscreen, or is that just a load of rubbish from following other cars? And there's been a number of cars pouring out lots of fluid. Joe McHarry, is that Ferrari? That's number 8.
Yeah, but there's our race leader.
Pits, yeah.
There is our race leader. So now, effectively, because the other one coming into the pit. So car 7 has got a 10-second penalty for a full start, but that's a bit further down the order anyway. So 88 is still leading at the moment, but we are waiting to see if it comes in the pits. We think it is, and so effectively this car is the leader. It's not the leader yet. It's not the leader yet because we haven't actually seen that other car come back in just yet, but I think we're about to see it. Meanwhile, this one has been having a few issues and has dropped. No, it hasn't come in. Okay, so still leading, still leading. I thought that he would be coming in, but no, he's staying out there, and perhaps they can continue. There seems to be less leaking now than there was a few minutes
whatever
ago.
The fluid was, it seems to have stopped pouring out of the back of the car. And I'm perplexed. I don't think I've ever seen a situation where 2 competitive cars of the same brand within 1 lap of each other. There's still, you can see coming through forward water, there is fluid still coming out of the left rear of the car, but it's behind the rear wheel, which is key. If it was happening in front of the rear wheel, that would be real trouble.
Absolutely. Well, let's see how this continues. We are getting into a battle for 10th position right now as well. So let's see, the Aston Martin trying to dive up on the inside to see whether it can get through. But it's, yeah, there is a chance to nip through. Yeah, it is. That's working very, very well for the 55 car. And that has gained them a position. So let's just see if this continues. So Alexander up there, but is now under attack from the E-type once again. Yeah,
again, that's always the problem with Madgwick. You make a move up the inside, but then your exit's slightly compromised. Then the Jaguar could get the undercut. Now the Aston again gaining momentum coming through forward water and can sweep around the nose of the E-type and regains the position. He lost it a couple of seconds earlier.
Absolutely. Oh, that was a little lock-up as well. Go back on board with Tom Hartley Jr. as he is still a little further down the order than expected, down in 15th position now, but coming under threat from the Chilton Aston Martin. So Tom Chilton in that car that you're looking at behind you right now. Of course, we'll be handing over to Max later on. Meanwhile, the race leader has now come into the pits. Now, they are allowed to make the driver change, so in a way that does make sense, but will it stay in the pits or not? But quite possibly, the car that has been leading into the pits, but also the second place car. So we've got some of the star drivers now. Yeah, so 59 is in the Cobra, so Andrew Jordan is now taking that one on. And then, of course, also coming in, the number 88 that was leading, Chris Ward, hopefully now taking that on, and the car running okay.
Well, keep an eye on Chris Ward because he was spectacular earlier today, and he will undoubtedly be spectacular once he's behind the wheel of that 88 E-type Jaguar.
So John Young has not come in yet. He will be handing over to Gordon Shedden. So John Young is currently the official leader of this race, getting a bit of an advantage over Gregor Fiskin, who's running in second place. But now Tom Hartley Jr. is handing over to the great USA superstar racer, Jimmie Johnson. Jimmy into the car, and we shall see what he is hugely talented. We'll see what he can do with the Cobra.
But this is a left-hand drive car, so doing a driver change in the pit lane in a left-hand drive car is a little bit more hazardous because you've got the flow of traffic coming into the pit lane or cars leaving the pit lane. So Jimmie Johnson having the 6-point safety harness attached. Tom Hartley steps away. Right, now, Jimmie Johnson, you're in a famous AC Cobra, and this is the race leader coming in.
Yep, so our race leader into the pits. No great surprise, we're seeing 4 more cars coming in. Second place car that Dario Franchitti is going to take on as well. That is now into the pits. So we're going to see all the swaps. Gordon Shedden is about to jump in here.
Flash Gordon, they call him. And that's because the way he drives is spectacular.
Absolutely. And we've seen many great performances from Gordon Shedden, whether it's here at Goodwood or, of course, in the British touring cars, where he's been a champion several times, and we shall see what he can do. In the meantime, of course, we've got other drivers that have not yet come into the pit, so this is changing all the time who's leading this race.
Very cramped quarters inside these GT cars. So that's why you're getting outside assistance to, rather than trying to do it yourself and getting it all wrong.
This is the leader at the moment, John Minshaw, with the number 24 E-type. Katerina Kivalova is going to be taking that one on shortly, but let's just wait and see how this all works. Everybody's coming out of the pits, and especially with many of these star drivers, to see what they can deliver.
Well, in the case of John Minshaw, you've got to say this, John, is a real demon tweak, because you're doing a good job. For those that know what it means, they may laugh.
Yeah, they may enjoy that. You can just see up ahead, you can see Jimmie Johnson already slipping and sliding around with the Cobra, trying to get the most pace out of it as possible. And there is the car now that Andrew Jordan is now at the wheel of. This was the leading car before the pit stops. It's currently in 8th position, but we've got a bunch of cars, of course, ahead that have not yet made their pit stop.
So Andrew Jordan knows this car, or these cars, inside out, and whether it's driving an A40 and also an A40 or driving an AC Cobra, or as we go back to Chris Ward and the D-type, not the E-type, the D-type dives up the inside, thinks the better of it.
That is effectively the car.
Chris, be careful, you're almost over around the Ely.
That is actually effectively the car that's made a pit stop, that is actually still going to be leading, because you can see the Cobra in the background. But yeah, this has worked, because remember, it didn't stop in the pits for any longer than it was to switch drivers. We saw that leak earlier, but it has actually been fine. So now Chris Ward has got this opportunity to try and extend the lead if possible.
And there's Andrew Jordan coming out of Madrid, car absolutely sideways. He's got no steering lock on whatsoever. He's just using the slide of the car into Madrid to slow it down, and the throttle to straighten it out on the exit. I mean, it's just how you have to drive an AC Cobra. You've got to be brutal with a brutal car.
Absolutely, but doing it extremely impressively. But Chris Ward is also highly talented, of course, and he is just trying to open it up, get through the traffic as quickly as possible. But we're seeing some new fastest laps as well. Actually, Gordon Shedden is setting some impressive pace at this stage too, isn't he? So we'll see with the number 4 E-type. Now that is going very, very quickly, and we're getting some few more cars coming in. I think most people will be making those pit stops over this next lap or so, and then we will see clearly who is leading. But in effect, it is at this stage Chris Ward, the number 88 E-type, that's in the strong position for the leading overall.
Wipers going on the Ferrari coming into Levant, as we see the number 4 sliding its way through, and this is Gordon Shedden. Show up no mercy, Gordon, because that's what we love you to do.
There's our race leader then. Effectively, I say race leader, but again, it is because they've made the pit stop. They're the first of those that have made the pit stop, not actually leading the race yet, because we've still got several cars that are out there not having made their stops. The official leader still at this stage is John Minshaw with their E-type, as you say, the Demon Tweaked machine.
Yes, well, John Minshaw's going to stay out, I think, until the last possible moment before he hands his car over to Katerina Kivalova, and she will do the final minutes, whatever. But look at that, Chris Ward, you are outrageous.
Yeah, he is. He is so talented. And that slide is so beautiful through the second part of St Mary's.
I mean, this is a driver who should have been a top professional driver, but unfortunately, I don't know why, but he entertains us every time. He entertains me in that Porsche 910 in the previous race, which we saw the Can-Am cars racing, dragged it up to 4th place. Outrageous performance once again.
Absolutely. And he's still got a 4-second advantage over Andrew Jordan, who effectively will be the second car. It's still being led by this one. It's not come in yet, as you said. They are leaving it till the last minute.
Yes, I mean, John Minshaw, look, it's a 2-driver race, so let's put it this way, the driver who's going to maybe be the stronger of the two in terms of lap time and performance and maybe race experience is going to max out his time behind the wheel and then hand over to his teammate and let them take it to the checkered flag.
Absolutely. But Andrew Jordan actually has just set the fastest lap by a tiny margin, only by a 1/10 of a second over what Chris Ward has done. They're both doing very similar times, and actually the gap between them still some 3.9 seconds, so 4-second gap. They are lapping at the same sort of pace. How they deal with traffic, of course, will be the key part as to whether we're going to see a closer battle for the lead ultimately.
Well, there are 16 minutes of this race remaining, and the gap is 3.9 seconds. So do the maths. It is eminently possible that Andrew Jordan could catch Chris Ward, but could and will, well, two different stories.
We shall have to just wait and see. But for the moment, we can enjoy the fact that Mintroy is currently leading this race. There you are. There's the man that, having made a pit stop, is in top spot effectively. Chris Ward is in second place overall, but once the other car, number 24, comes into the pits, he will have that advantage. But it is about the gap between himself and Andrew Jordan with the Cobra, and they are doing very, very similar times at this stage. So is it coming in this time?
Yes, no, he's staying up one more lap.
One more lap.
So the team are going to run up right to the very limit of that 12-minute pit window before they bring it in, and John Minshaw will step out and hand over to Katerina Kivalova, and she will take the car to the finish. But I'm just wondering, because we're seeing the group of lead cars, they're catching and getting sort of almost embroiled in battles that are going on amongst other cars through the field, and it'll be traffic management that'll be a significant part of who may come out on top.
Andrew Jordan did gain half a second, didn't he, on that last lap on Chris Ward, but as you say, I think a lot of that is to do with traffic, and so sometimes that may shift the other way. The E-type that we're watching at the moment, this leading car that hasn't made a pit stop yet, great history as well. It's raced in 1961 by Captain Ramsey, and won at Chester Hall. It raced at Alton, Snetterton through the early 1960s, so it was very much a UK-based car. Still leading this race, but it will be coming into the pits very, very soon for the swap over. And we've got the indicator on that on the number 22 machine.
Just caught a glimpse of Alex Buncombe.
Yeah.
In the wheel of the Bob Neville entered Jaguar E-type. Simon Watts did the opening stint, so Chris jumped in. Chris, of course, won with Jenson Button last night. Was it the Freddie March Trophy?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so they did a great job, and Jenson's ex-Fangio C-type Jaguar. Look at that. I mean, Andrew Jordan, flames licking from the exhaust pipe as he goes into Woodcote. So there's a car now between first and second. And look at coming, and there's now the race leaders in the pits. Yeah, so the official leader, but now having to make the pit stop as expected into the pits for the swap over. And that means that now we know it is Chris Ward who is definitely out in front. I thought he might get a bit held up by the traffic there, but actually he's dealt with that very, very well. But it has brought the gap down a little bit because he caught him going into the chicane. The gap's come down to just over 2.5 seconds. Yeah, but Andrew Jordan's got a clear early, has actually cleared that car. So again, there's one car between race leader and second place. And again, how do you pick and choose where you catch and where you can overtake? Katerina Kivalova getting into the... Oh, I could frame that and put it on my wall. Amazing control by Chris Ward. Can he hold on to it? Yeah, as you say, Katerina getting in the car. She started out with an Austin Healey, and she will be happy to be having a bit of a play when she gets a chance. So is this coming closer? Is it getting tighter between these two? Visually, yes. Timing and scoring, yes. There's not much more to say. Okay. There's very little between them, isn't it? But they are two different cars with two very talented drivers. That was the bit you were enjoying. Unreal. I mean, that's what a race car should look like. No wings, no aero, just mechanical grip and Dunlop race tyres. So Katerina's out now, and she has had a third place fit here at Goodwood in the past, at the Freddie March in 2015. Let's see how that goes. But obviously, having made the pit stop, that will drop them down the order somewhat. So the lead battle up front, let's see what it is as they go over the line this time. The gap down to 2 seconds now. So again, a tiny gain from Andrew Jordan. We got 12 minutes to go. It's not impossible that he's going to put a real battle into this. Then on that last lap, Andrew Jordan took 0.6 of a second out of the lead of this car. We're seeing on screen Chris Ward, Jaguar E-type, number 88. So the pace the Cobra has is running down this lead Jaguar. Now he will catch it. We've got 11 minutes and 40 seconds to go, and you've got a gap of 2 seconds. So traffic will be an issue. Chris Ward needs to clear this E-type. He's done that, so he's going to get a clear run down into Lavant. I think Andrew Jordan probably will have to be patient. He'll have a look at coming out of Lavant and getting onto the Lavant straight, and maybe think about it going into Woodcote. But is he going to be sufficiently close? Can he take the punt and launch it down the inside? unless he's done it easily. Look, he's cleared it, just speed out of Lavin, just blew away the E-type.
Of course, one of the advantages when you're actually in second place in these situations is that some of the other cars realise they're going to have to move out of the way because the leader's coming up, but sometimes they don't realise that straight away. Once they've let the leader through, they're then looking behind to say, oh, is there somebody else coming?
You mean they've got woken up?
Yes, that's part of racing. But there we go. In fact, that is not the great place for Andrew Jordan. When you get into the chicane and you're behind another car, there's nothing really much you can do.
And you know, Ben, as well as I do, that's the art of not racing, but being a racing driver and reading where you're going to catch traffic and how you can use that traffic to your advantage. That's frustrating Andrew Jordan all the time. The gap's gone back up to 2.5 seconds purely because of just catching traffic in an awkward part of the circuit.
It's funny, actually, because you're talking about the pace. When they did qualifying in the dry, and Andrew Jordan did set the pace, it was a half a second gap. They were first and second, he and Chris Ward. It was a half-second gap on their best laps in qualifying. So, you know, if he could find that half a second every lap, there is still that chance.
Oh, yeah. But again, Chris Ward gets through cleanly coming into St. Mary's. We come back to some of the field, and there is the 88. That's a car where you're going to... 60, I beg your pardon, 68, can't read.
Running in fourth place at the moment, Dario Franchitti in that car.
And a man who has got a great pedigree here at Silverstone, and of course famous for his IndyCar championship wins and at Indianapolis itself.
Yeah, but under a bit of pressure from the Ferrari, Jelmer Berman behind is right there and putting some pressure on.
Well, Jelmer Berman is an outstanding GT race car driver. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of them in past years, but he's been competing in historic GT racing.
Now look at this on board with Jimmie Johnson, and you're looking at the leader coming up to lap Jimmie Johnson. So Jimmy's been getting up to pace as much as quick as possible, but of course the car was quite a long way down, and he's got to let the leader through, presumably.
Well, that's a presumption. Yes, he has. And I think it was more a question of not if, not if, but when. So that was good driving from Jimmie Johnson. He didn't slow down Chris Ward. He gave him the corner. Now Andrew Jordan's going to be saying, oh, he's done it again. He's gone through at the most critical part of the corner. Now I've got to pass another Cobra, which has probably got a similar straight line performance as I have.
And we are getting a little bit of rain now. Now this might suit the Jaguar more than the Cobra, because normally in the wet, the Jaguars, yeah, you can see the rain falling.
Oh, it's absolutely lashing down. This is at St. Mary's. The rain's coming in from the southwest. That car's going off left, right, and centre.
Andrew Jordan's gone off, hasn't he? But amazingly, so far, Chris Ward has held it together, even though he's gone onto the rain. But we did see Andrew running onto the grass. This is so difficult when you suddenly get into the rain going into Lavant, when the rain comes in this way. It's been dry all the way around until you get the... Yeah, we've got
again, it's all at St. Mary's.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's the car that was leading earlier, Katarina Kivalova, who's now in it. She's had a spin. She's able to get back on once again. You're on board with Jimmie Johnson.
In these conditions, you can barely get into fourth gear. There's just getting wheel spin. This is a replay of what was happening. Look behind you. Cars going off. This is from on board. I think it might be Jimmie Johnson's AC Cobra. And it's just suddenly caught people up. There was no warning. It just suddenly dumped on that sort of westerly part of the racetrack, and all of a sudden Chris Ward was one of the earliest cars through, and he managed it.
Yeah.
But Andrew Jordan came barreling in, maxing out every bit of performance, and all of a sudden he made a little error and ran wide onto the grass.
Absolutely. So the gap now between first and second is going to be a lot bigger than it was when we last saw them over the line. Yeah, it's gone up to 5.9 seconds now. No surprise. And as I say, often the Jaguar E-type is a car that is more balanceable, more controllable in the wet than the Cobras.
So Healy again has gone on, and now E-types. This is coming out of Woodcote, I think. So waved yellow flags, and that car is going to make it. He's getting back. He can get the car rolling, so that flag hopefully will be withdrawn. So yes, this is Jimmie Johnson being overtaken. You can see on board, and Andrew Jordan just breezes by again, coming in. Watch how wide both Cobras are struggling for any level of grip coming through the first part of St. Mary's. And the race leader likewise slithers his way down the exit of St. Mary's, up the hill and into Lavin. And Andrew Jordan's got a sniff again of a victory. He's cleared the Cobra of Jimmie Johnson, and that gap was 5 seconds when they came across the line. In fact, it was 5.9 seconds. That's probably going to be close to half that if they come across the line with 6.5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, he gained nearly 2 seconds on that first sector, surprisingly. But in the wet section, it'll be interesting to see the other sectors, how they come up, because the gap still, but he has closed it up a bit.
No, he's eating up the gap, Ben. He's just closing it down. I don't know what Chris Ward's issue is, whether he's just found himself in a situation where he hasn't got any bite or grip compared to maybe what we would have expected. And Andrew Jordan in the Cobra, which one would normally assume is not as competitive in these conditions as the E-type Jaguar is, has run that down. 5.9 was the gap when they came across the line 1 lap ago. That's going to be reset when Andrew Jordan comes across the start-finish line, waiting for it to come up. Or does the gap? It's not sure. 3.4 seconds.
Yeah, so
2.5 seconds he picked up on that lap.
That was a good gain, as you say. I do wonder, was there an issue for Chris on that lap somewhere that we hadn't seen? But he's lost a bit, but he's now seeming to get back onto pace, okay, Chris. But this is the battle, first to second.
This part of the racetrack's not a problem, Ben. It's from here onwards, the exit of Fordwater and through St Mary's. That's where the problem exists. There's a little bit of rain, and you see in the camera lens, but from here onwards, everybody's tippy-toeing the way around to make sure they don't make an error. And it's here now into St Mary's, the first part, where drivers were caught out. One corner, the left-hand turn at St Mary's was the real. There again, Chris, look at him slip-sliding all the way through the Cobra, much the same.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a very, very challenging section. This has been the wettest part, but now the rain still falling. We've got just under 5 minutes to go, but the changing conditions here, always very tricky, but you've got 2 super talented drivers. Let's see how they make this work.
And just watching Andrew Jordan, he's got to try and keep his AC Cobra in a straight line as long as possible. He doesn't want to let the car slide and break traction, which will only lose him time. And then he's got to make the second part of Lavin. So he makes it slightly more acute, but straightens the car up to get again a good run up onto Lavin Straight.
Yeah, and he's definitely gained a bit again on that second section. Oh, but he did that okay, actually. He got away with that, didn't he?
Yeah, he got away with it. I mean, look, he's so talented. Andrew Jordan's such a great talent in anything he races, and he knows what he can get away with. He didn't apply a lot of power. He just kept the pedal relatively constant, and then once he straightened the car up, he was back at the races.
So the gap to just under 2 seconds now, just under 2 seconds, as we're also enjoying some of the replays of what's been going on. One of the Austin Healey's, this is the Jack Rawls and Jap Sink having a big slide. Sink is actually in the car now, I think.
Yes, that was one of the cars in the initial start that got involved in that incident. So just a replay of how an Austin Healey can overstay its way around Goodwood.
Absolutely, but still the gap is still coming down very slightly for Andrew Jordan. He's closing that gap up to Chris Ward, as you can see, but has he got the time with only just over 3 minutes?
Just over 3 minutes to go, so you're looking at best 2 laps. Again, the exit of St Mary's, a struggle for both, but Andrew Jordan's taking a different line.
Yeah.
He comes through the corner and exits much more in a straight line than Chris Ward. Chris is sliding the Jaguar down the hill to the compression, and I think that's where the time being gained by Andrew Jordan is coming from.
It's interesting, watching Andrew, he doesn't allow the Cobra to get too sideways. He's very controlled on the throttle, not allowing it to get too out of shape, whereas Chris with the E-type is allowing it a bit more sideways movement. But we shall see how that all goes in the remaining time, because he doesn't have to hold on too long, and it's still going to be very difficult for Andrew, not only to get that little bit closer, but then to get past.
Well, I'm looking at possibly 2 remaining laps. It's going to be 2 minutes and about 10 seconds at the point they come across the start-finish line. So I think that will allow us, I'm only sort of trying to do a quick second guess, 2 further laps. So 1 more to go, and how much more can Andrew Jordan? And then the penultimate lap itself.
Absolutely, this is fascinating to see. 1.1 seconds, the gap between the 2 of them.
Just looking up and down, timing and scoring. Incidentally, we haven't been focusing on the battle for the lead, but Gordon Shedden, who's running in 3rd place, has set the fastest race lap with a 1 minute 28.565, and we haven't seen an awful lot of flash anywhere.
No, that's right, but he is quite a long way further back, of course, so but Gordon is doing a great job. Looks as though he's going to get the final podium spot. There it is. There's the number 4 E-type that he's doing, as you say, that he's done some very good laps, although that last lap wasn't quite so quick. Let's just see what he does on this. Yeah, that was a good lap again. Yep. That was the same sort of pace as the two leaders.
Yeah, that fastest lap, obviously, it was a lap that was recorded before the rain started to fall. So he's having to be, let's say, he's got I think he's got a relatively secure, he's got 12-second advantage over Dario Franchitti as we go back to our race leader in traffic and caught behind the 300 SL Mercedes as they come on to Lavant Straight. And now look how close the Cobra is. And we're going to go on to, at the end of this lap, that will be the final lap, I think, Ben.
You're right. I'm sure we'll be going on to the last lap. And there is more traffic around. And we've seen this at Goodwood many times in the past. When you're dealing with traffic, it's very easy to lose. Now he's waving. What's that mean? He's allowing him through. There's a problem.
I'm not sure whether there's something being waved or it's the rain or something. He got a problem. All of a sudden, his right hand came out of the window and waved, and all of a sudden, is this going to be
Chris Ward
going on to the final lap of pit stop?
Is he coming in? I think he is. Chris Ward is coming in. Oh, we only had one lap to go. We were on. Oh no, he's not. What's going on?
I don't know. I don't know whether he thinks he's won the race. I don't know. I've no idea. I can't.
No, he's pulling off. Look.
Yes, he's pulling off at the pit lane exit. So that's a very sensible thing. So whether it's a technical problem, fuel problem, we don't know. But there's our race leader who, having started from pole initially, and this is the point at which Chris Ward, suddenly a hand comes out of the cockpit, pass me, yeah. I'm in trouble, I can't go any further.
And he's looking down at something in there. I'm not quite sure what he was checking, but there's clearly a problem. And I feel for him, and I feel for us, because we were on for a great race on this last lap. But fair play to Andrew Jordan. I mean, he's been doing a fantastic job, as ever, former British touring car champion, who then developed the business that they run to restore cars, restore historic cars. They've run a lot of the historic cars that are here this weekend. He's done a fabulous job, but as a driver, he is still total top level, especially here at Goodwood. Amazing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, a huge talent and skill in a car in these conditions, which is not the easiest car. So no, Gordon Shedden, two Jaguars pulling over and stopping for unknown
Are they
reasons.
running out of fuel? They wouldn't be doing that, would they?
Well, we saw that on the Can-Am race. We saw Nick Padmore pull over. We think that was a fuel.
But in the wet, you use less fuel, unless they were throwing out. They were throwing out fuel, weren't they?
Well, there was certainly fluid coming out from the back of the cars. We assumed initially it was fuel. We don't know what it was.
Well, here we go then. The checker flag will be coming out in just a moment as we come over the line for the final race of the day here at Goodwood on Saturday. The victory goes to Andrew Jordan with Matt Holm. They win with the AC Cobra, taking the victory in the Stirling Moss Memorial Trophy. His dad Mike's just over there celebrating again. And it means, let's just see across the line, that in second place, Shedden has made it by the look of it, has he?
I'm not sure.
I'm just waiting
for the timing and scoring to update. We think it might be Dario Franchitti, because Shedden pulled over and came to a stop before he crossed the start-finish line. So
it is this one, you're right, it's Dario Franchitti. That's the gap back. It's such a big gap, isn't it? You can't think it's that far back, but it is. This is second place, and it's going to be Dario Franchitti, because, as you say, Gordon Shedden did pull off, hasn't been able to get over the line. So that's going to be second place for Franchitti. And it looks like third place is going to go to the number 21 Ferrari with Jelmer Berman at the wheel. Let's just see how this goes. Yep, Berman's just there. We go. Berman's just gone across the line. Nigel Greensall as well over the line. There you are. There's Berman, who has done a great job with that number 21 Ferrari, which originally was 10th on the grid when it all first started. Of course, we then had a second grid that was slightly different. But that was a very good effort to get a podium finish out of this, and we saw his performance was going very well. But another remarkable job by Andrew Jordan, who's taken so many great successes here at Goodwood, and today he's been on absolutely top form yet again.
Yes, and he's been on his lap of honour, just enjoying the lap where he can allow himself to be a little bit more extrovert, slide the car, coming through some of these corners, the exit, waving to the fans that will appreciate an outstanding drive by an outstanding driver. But two of the E-type Jaguars that were in winning position, certainly one of them was clearly winning, and then the second car of Gordon's. There's Gordon, poor Gordon. What does that face tell you?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to give you an answer. My answer, I know what it is, and it's not one I could repeat live.
That was a shame. I do feel for. There were several drivers that we really feel for. Andrew Jordan, though, this is his second win in the Moss Trophy. He won in 2022 with Mike Whitaker, and that was in AC Cobra as well.
Yeah, just lit up the Cobra as he came out of the chicane. A little bit of, there we go, a little bit of show for the fans. Nothing like a bit of blue smoke, burn rubber, sniff petrol. What a great thesis.
Yeah, that was lovely. And you can see his dad celebrating from the pit wall as well as he's come over with another victory. But it was superbly done. I just wish that we had seen that last lap, you know, happen, though. I do feel for Chris Ward because he had been doing a brilliant job. And for Andrew to have overtaken him on that last lap, it would have been tough. But Andrew's done it. And he was setting great lap times in those tricky conditions. And just look at what it means to him. Yeah. And Matt Holm, who was in the car at the beginning.
Yes.
Oh, apologies for any inappropriate language. Sometimes these things do slip out unintentionally. But, I mean, a great drive, a great effort by Matt Holm and Andrew Jordan. And commiserations to the drive that we saw all the way through Chris Ward, particularly behind the wheel of that 88 Jaguar.
Yeah, with Richard Kent. They had done a great job together, and I do feel for them. But Dario Franchitti getting the second place with Gregor Fiskin, and that was impressive as well, no doubt about it. And then third place, Jelmer Berman and Alexander Vanderlof with their Ferrari 250. So yeah, we've got a real lovely mix of machinery as well, although the Cobra's actually, sort of dominating things. Cobra's 1-2 and Ferrari in third. Let's go down and join Ed Foster.
Thank you, Matt. I'm chasing drivers around here. We'll get Andrew to come and join. Not an easy first stint, but you didn't put a foot wrong.
I put a few feet wrong, I think, actually. The restart, kind of was a bit out of sorts, and I bogged down, and then managed to get a few places back. And then the two E-types were leaking a lot of fluid. It wasn't really affecting them so much, but it was affecting me quite a lot. So I was sliding around. I was on the grass a few times. And then handed over to Andrew, and it looked like we were sort of pushing to catch up, and then the rain came, and then it's an emotional roller coaster, if I'm honest with you.
Well, that gives a great drive. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Andrew, here we go. I pity the fool that has to write the race report for that. I mean, so much happened.
One word, stressful. But no, what a result, and shame my mate Matt is special. So. Yeah, it was a tricky race, and it was initially it took me. There was a bit of rain down there from the out laps, so it took me a couple of laps just to settle in and start catching him, which I was. And then there was a lot of rain suddenly at No Name, and I had an off at St Mary's. So I was just. I always tell Matt, just calm down and let it settle, which I did for a lap, and then found my rhythm. I could see he was struggling a little bit on some of the lines he was using, but yeah, brilliant! What a result! What a team effort!
Well done, guys.
Thank you.
Right, Gregor, Dario. That was a lovely surprise, wasn't it?
You know, I was on the pit wall going, what a rubbish pit stop I made. Rubbish getting out of the car. Poor Dario, struggling back there and fourth. I went, well, there you go, fourth. And I'm going to apologise to him. And then the next thing, we're second. I feel sorry for the guys in the Jags, but yeah, we'll take it.
Dario, it's tough to keep the Scots down, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It's a very physical car. It was a lot of fun to drive. I love Sharon McGregor. We have so much fun doing it. And to come home with a wee P2, yeah, I'll take that.
Well done, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's find third place, guys. Here we go. Jelmer, Alexander. There was a lot to cope with in the first stint. I think I don't know what you would have preferred, that or the rain.
The rain I liked also very much, to be honest.
You must be delighted.
Absolutely, fantastic, yeah.
Look, just tell us, how difficult was it at the end with that rain down at St Mary's?
Well, it got very tricky. In the end, it was raining not on all the corners, just a few, and it changed every lap. So you had to be aware and spot the rain coming. We had some oil on the windscreen as well, so I couldn't use the wiper because it only got worse. But no, great race, great to end the weekend like that. So we're happy.
Great drive. Well done, guys. Thank you.